Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, join it or something.
Lucamus Prime here, so it's time to do another movie review today, and this time, guys, I'm going to be reviewing the second installment of a standalone Superman movies in live action, and today I'm going to be specifically reviewing the theatrical release of Superman 2, released in 1980 and directed by Richard Lester, although many footage was of course shot by the original director, Richard Donner. So yeah, now, this version of the movie, guys, is in my opinion a major example of a weaker sequel than its predecessor. But the director's cut is my favourite, my favourite DC movie of all time. But this theatrical version I think is much weaker and more inferior, and we'll get to why. So, however, despite the fact that Richard Lester directed this movie, and he will go on to direct which was, in my opinion, one of the worst DC movies ever, Superman 3, this version of the movie does, however, have good qualities which would prevent it from being almost as bad as Superman 3 and 4, which in my opinion are the two worst Superman movies in live action. So the good qualities is, when it comes to the cast still does a very good job in my opinion. For example, the great Christopher Reeve, rest in peace, still gives a phenomenal performance as Superman. He was really good in this movie, once again, great in the role, and he considers this to be the best Superman movie, this version of the movie, I believe. I don't know what he said about Richard Donner cut. And then again, I don't think he'd be able to have an opinion on it because he unfortunately passed away before Richard Donner cut came out. So rest in peace, Christopher Reeve. Gene Hackman also gave a phenomenal performance as Lex Luthor. You know, my favourite live action Lex Luthor of all time was amazing in this movie. I also, once again, loved Margot Kidder as Lois Lane. You know, one of the highlights of the movie, guys, in both cuts is definitely her chemistry with Christopher Reeve. You know, they have such great chemistry together. It's just phenomenal chemistry. Really perfect casting for the characters, definitely. When it comes to other villains, I also, as well, loved Terrence Stamp as General Zod, my favourite General Zod in live action, alongside Sarah Douglas as Ursa and Jack O'Halloran as Non. I like how these three villains got a much bigger role than the previous movie, because unfortunately in the first movie, Richard Donner, they only had a cameo appearance at the start and later in their Phantom Zone when Kal-El flies past him in his pod. But in both cuts of Superman 2, they do have a much bigger role as a main villain, which I do love. I really love that. And they were really menacing villains, in my opinion. I also love the rest of the supporting cast, like Ned Beatty as Otis, like Luthor's right-hand man, and Valerie Perrin as Eve Tessmacher, Mark McClure as Jimmy Olsen. He was great comic relief, absolutely. And also Jackie Cooper, rest in peace, as Perry White. And yeah, and rest in peace to everyone else who's passed away, such as Ned Beatty and Margot Kidder. And there's probably many others who unfortunately passed away as well. Susanna York was also very good as Superman's mother, Lara, because she appeared in the reshoots, guys, and she gave a great performance, although in my opinion her appearance made absolutely no sense, and we'll get to why and the bad qualities. And of course, rest in peace, because she passed away in 2011, so yeah, rest in peace. I also liked Clifton James as the sheriff, the one with the blonde hair. What's cool is he played a similar sheriff before in some James Bond movies, I believe one starring Roger Moore, called Sheriff J.W. Pepper. And his appearance is very similar, so I'm thinking maybe they cast him as a reference to that role. I really don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's the same character or not, guys, because I've not seen those movies. I just heard that he's in James Bond movies playing a similar looking sheriff. So yeah, and rest in peace to him as well. I also as well like the addition of E.G. Marshall as the President of the United States. He's definitely one of my favourite fictional presidents of all time. He was a great character in the movie, guys. And yeah, he was really good in his appearance. Really good. I really liked him. Also, the visual effects are also very good for a time in 1980. They are definitely way better than the visual effects in Superman 4. Way better. And also as well, the music was also pretty good, composed by Ken Thorne. It was pretty good. Although in my opinion, not really as good as John Williams' score, and we'll get to why in the bad qualities. And yeah, And the fight scenes are also pretty decent as well, guys. You know, very entertaining to watch. So, yeah, I did like it. So, yeah. However, guys, when it comes to the bad qualities of a movie, there is, you know, so much I'll get to when it comes to the footage as well. But there is, however, one good quality, guys, I will say, which I do like equally in both this version of the movie and the Richard Donner cut, being Lex Luthor's scenes. Because, for those of you who do not know, Richard Donner was unfortunately fired due to creative differences between him and the Salkinds who were making a movie with him. So he got fired when only 75% of Superman 2 was completed, because they worked on both movies, the first two movies, back to back. So he unfortunately got fired, and Gene Hackman was among the many crew members, a fair few, who was so furious with how they treated Richard Donner that he declined to return to do reshoots under Richard Lester direction. So all of Hackman's scenes in this movie, guys, were filmed by Richard Donner. But then you're probably going to ask me, but Lucamus, doesn't Lex Luthor appear in new scenes by Lester? Well, that's true, guys, because the character does appear in the reshoots, but not Gene Hackman. Instead, they used a body double and a voice actor to impersonate Hackman in the scenes featuring Lex Luthor in the reshoots. A big example is the scene in Fortress Solitude when we arrive at the end, when Ursa drops Lex Luthor off and he lands onto the ground. You can tell by the shape of the actor that it's not Gene Hackman's physique or head shape. And when Lex Luthor says, "Hey, never heard of parachutes?" I can tell it's not Gene Hackman. It's a decent impression, but I'm not going to lie. But yeah. So yeah, so the mistreatment of Richard Donner is my main bad quality with the movie, because I feel without him, the movie went downhill. Especially in Superman 3, because I was entirely done by Lester. And also, guys, if you're wondering why Donner was uncredited as a director, it's because Lester, he reshot a lot of the movie to achieve the sole directing credit. So yeah, that's why many scenes are different in this compared to Richard Donner cut. Apart from Lex Luthor's scenes, because Gene Hackman, of course, declined to return to do reshoots. And he's not the only one who declined to return, because another major example is Marlon Brando, who played Jor-El in the first movie. But the thing is, guys, his situation was much more worse, in my opinion, than Gene Hackman's, because not only did he decline to return, he also denied the Salkinds permission to use his scenes he'd already filmed for Richard Donner for Superman 2, because he did film scenes for Superman 2, originally by Richard Donner, which you can see in Richard Donner cut. But the reason why he denied them permission to include his scenes is because they did not pay him the same amount of payment he had from the first movie. So poor Marlon Brando felt upset about this, and I can't really blame him, you know, like, not being paid the same amount he earned from the first movie, like, really? So he denied them permission to include his footage. This unfortunately leads on to bad quality, we'll say, guys, when it comes to the inclusion of Superman's mother, Lara. And also the trial scene, because this version of the movie opens with the same trial scene from the first movie, but despite being the same trial, it's very different. For example, because due to the absence of Marlon Brando, Jor-El is removed from the scene, and they have a voice actor playing him. It's definitely not Marlon Brando, because I can easily tell it's not Marlon Brando saying the lines, and we can't even see Jor-El. But the problem is, his dialogue is completely different to what it was in the first movie's trial scene. So it feels like a different trial scene, guys, which it pretty much is, because they changed so much. But at least they showed their crimes while they're on trial in the first place, because it shows them non-killing a guard by snapping his neck, and also General Zod breaking a red crystal. So yeah, committing a crime. But this leads on to another bad quality with regard to Jor-El, because you may be aware, guys, that in the first movie, Jor-El inserts an AI version of himself into Kal-El's pod, and it becomes part of Fortress of Solitude as like an AI for him to interact with. But the thing is, guys, in this movie, due to Marlon Brando declining to return to do reshoots, they instead inserted other Kryptonians into the AI, such as Lara, Superman's mother, and another Kryptonian who was played by John Hollis, who you guys may know as Lawbot from The Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, he appeared as a Kryptonian talking about trees. But the problem is, though, guys, it makes absolutely no sense, because they did not insert the AI into the pod. Only Jor-El did. So it doesn't make any sense why they're in this movie, to be honest. So confusing. You know, this is why I wish Donner got a chance to finish the movie. The Richard Donner cut is probably the closest we'll ever get to his complete vision, so yeah. Another example of a crew member who did not return was the writer Tom Mankiewicz. He declined to return out of loyalty to Richard Donner. And I can't say I blame him, because I'd have probably done the same if I was a writer working with Richard Donner. Because, he was only working with Richard Donner because he enjoyed working with him out of Persuasion, like Gene Hackman, because Gene Hackman only agreed to play Lex Luthor out from Persuasion by Richard Donner. And another example of a crew member who also declined to return was the composer, John Williams, from the first movie. Because the thing is, when he saw projection of Superman 2, and after the Sorkinds left the room, he had a big argument with Richard Lester, and he did not get on with him. So he told the Sorkinds he could not get along with him, and he declined to compose the music. He instead suggested they hire Ken Thorne, a friend of John Williams, and he gave them permission to use his Superman themes from the first movie in the new soundtrack. So, while it was a guilty pleasure to still hear his themes in the new soundtrack, in my opinion, the music wasn't really as memorable because Ken Thorne used different instruments to John Williams, and it felt a bit off, in my opinion. Like, in Richard Donner Cut, they used John Williams' music from the first movie and also some unused soundtracks, which in my opinion flowed way better with scenes than Ken Thorne's music. No offense to Ken Thorne, but I think John Williams' music is way more superior. So, yeah. And an example of a scene which was filmed as, new footage is the Eiffel Tower scene, guys. Yeah, that was entirely filmed by Richard Lester. It was a somewhat decent scene, I guess, showing Superman being the superhero that he is. And the scene where he changes from Clark to Superman was in the alley was pretty cool. And of course, the hydrogen bomb is responsible for freeing the three Kryptonians from Phantom Zone. So, yeah. But the thing is, though, guys, that sort of doesn't really have very much of a good connection to the first film, because the Richard Donner Cut reveals that one of the missiles that Superman prevented from crashing into the Earth in the first movie, towards the end of the first movie, is responsible for destroying Phantom Zone. Because it was that powerful it brought Phantom Zone. In my opinion, that was a way better connection to the first movie by having one of those missiles be one to destroy Phantom Zone. So, now, there's also 3 other cast members, guys, who also did not take part in the reshoots, but I don't know if they declined to return like Gene Hackman or Marlon Brando did. But the ones who did not return alongside Hackman was Ned Beatty as Otis and Valerie Perrin as Eve Tessmacher. I believe they did not return because they were only contracted to appear in the scenes filmed by Richard Donner. I don't think they were asked to come back to do reshoots. I really don't know. But the problem is, though, guys, because they don't appear in the reshoots, Eve Tessmacher disappears from the storyline because after the scene in Force of Solitude where she and Lex Luthor visit it and they see the AI of the Kryptonians talking about, Earth and whatever, she's no longer appearing. So, yeah. They never confirmed her fate at all, so that's another reason why I wish Richard Donner got to finish his movie, so we could confirm her story, how it ended, and give her closure, but sadly not, which I did not like. And of course, Otis also was not part of reshoots, and I think he had a pretty decent ending where he was helping Lex escape prison, but Lex, unfortunately, because he's a criminal mastermind, double-crossed him and left him behind because he was holding their ladder down to get to their balloon. So, yeah. So, like I said, guys, Lex Luthor's scenes are the only thing I love equally in both cuts of the movie, and they were also pretty creative in the scene where he's interacting with the AI Kryptonians, because they used different takes of Gene Hackman's, reactions to the Kryptonians to make it look like he wasn't looking at Jor-El, It was pretty creative, in my opinion. But still, though, the absence of Marlon Brando just didn't feel right for me, so that's why I wish they paid him the same money he earned from the first movie, But yeah, and there's also another problem with the reshoots because in many scenes you can tell the cast have aged. For example, Margot Kidder. In some scenes she appears to be the same age she was when she filmed the first movie, because they filmed the first 2 movies back to back, of course, by Richard Donner. Yet, in the reshoots you can tell she's older. So yeah, so that was a bit annoying, really. Oh yeah, another example of a crew member who also declined to return was Stuart Baird, the editor. He declined to return because he was loyal to Richard Donner, which I appreciate him for. So just like Tom Mankiewicz, he also declined to return due to being loyal to Richard Donner. So I did like how he's being loyal to him. And also, I do believe they also had to reshoot lots of other scenes because Christopher Reeve's physique changed a lot between the gap between filming it by Richard Donner and then by Lester. So yeah, they had to reshoot lots of scenes because of his physique changing. So, and also the Niagara Falls scene, guys, is another example of a scene which was done by Richard Lester. But the thing is, though, I noticed when I rewatched the movie last night that they never explain why Clark and Lois are there in the first place. Richard Donner thankfully does show this because Perry White asked them to go there to pause as a couple so they can, talk, so they can see what the honeymoon suites are like. So, yeah, for Perry to talk about in a newspaper article. But in this version of the movie, they never showed why they're there in the first place. They just go there as if they're on holiday, Yeah. And also, the scene with the boy falling into Niagara Falls was also pretty stupid. I mean, the kid was stupid to be hanging on the rails, and yeah. I mean, I guess it was good pleasure to see Superman being the hero he is, saving him, but there is a big inconsistency with it because the boy falls really slowly, guys, and that was a problem that I had. Like, in real life, he'd have probably held down within, 5 seconds, not a very long fall like in this version of the movie. And Superman also, considering he does fly pretty slowly as well. Thankfully, in the Richard Donner cut, it's edited to be faster, which was way better and way more realistic, in my opinion. And, very well visualised back then because I believe, in 2006, they were able to improve the visuals due to being late in technology. So, yeah, I am glad that, they edited it to be faster. And also, when it comes to the ending of the movie, guys, in my opinion, it was pretty depressing because, Lois knows that Clark is Superman and she's having a breakdown. I personally didn't like that, guys. It upsets me seeing her like that, and it's pretty depressing. And as a result, Clark has to give her his Superman's memory wipe kiss to wipe her memory of the previous days, so she no longer knows he's Superman. In my opinion, that wasn't a very good thing, really, because it was so depressing. Richard Donner has a way better way to erase her knowledge by having him go back in time again. So, yeah, I didn't really, like that. When it comes to the final fight of the movie, guys, at Fortress of Solitude, the scenes with Lex Luthor are what I like, of course, and the scene where Superman tricks them. But that leads on to another plot hole with regards to a device which Superman uses to, erase his powers, because in this version of the movie, guys, after speaking to his mother about becoming immortal to be with Lois, which him and Richard Donner can't prefer because he's talking to Jor-El and he's wearing Clark Kent's clothes. The thing is, in this version of the movie, he's wearing his Superman clothes, and when he goes into a device, for some reason, his clothes change while he's in there automatically. Superman fades away from existence, and then Clark Kent comes out wearing, his civilian clothing. Yet, later in the movie, guys, when Superman tricks them, Zod, Ursa, and Non, by, setting the power to be outside the device, while he was safe in it, their clothes did not change when the power disappeared. And not only that, but when Superman's powers went away, he was clearly in pain from it, yet they didn't show any sign of pain at all, so that's another plot hole. Thankfully, Richard Donner was able to blur out Superman inside the device while he was changing, so we wouldn't know if he was in pain or not, thankfully. And that helped explain why the evil Kryptonians later weren't in pain. But that was, however, a great plot twist, which you do look at, it was shot by Richard Donner. And another example of an actor who also did not return was E.G. Marshall as a president. I don't know why he didn't return, maybe, I really don't know. Because his scenes were great, though, because they were shot by Richard Donner. And the White House fight scene was great, but I like Richard Donner version far more because they made the Kryptonians way more violent and ruthless. For example, unlike this version of the movie, Richard Donner, because Zod plays with an assault rifle and has fun with it. And yeah. And the final scene of the movie, guys, where Superman repairs the White House and he says good afternoon to the president, says he won't let him down. The president, I think, is played by a double because he didn't have the same build as E.G. Marshall. So, yeah. And I think another example of something which was very unnecessary and pretty stupid, in my opinion, was adding really weird powers to the Kryptonians. For example, in Richard Lester's scenes, guys, in the scene in East Houston, where Zod and Non are attacking a town, they have really weird powers. For example, Zod is able to fire a white laser at a civilian and make him go flying in the air, controlling him. Since when did General Zod have that ability before in the comics or whatever? That is just so ridiculous and makes absolutely no sense. Like, that is just so confusing, and I don't understand that. And I think he did the same thing to that shotgun earlier when he fired a laser at the sheriff's shotgun, and then it for some reason it floated towards him. You know, pretty confusing in my opinion. I think in Richard Donner's version they edited it to be still in the air. I think so. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm going to rewatch Richard Donner cut so I can see how it played out. But yeah, I don't even remember if that scene was even in Richard Donner cut. But yeah, and also when it comes to the final fight in the Fortress of Solitude, guys. One thing that's so weird is the Kryptonians, including Superman, have the ability to teleport and they can duplicate themselves as holograms. Like, what? That made absolutely no sense, guys. Like, since when can the characters from Krypton duplicate themselves as holograms? Like, that, in my opinion, made absolutely no sense and was so confusing. Like, it didn't make any sense at all. Really confusing, really, how they did that, you know. Thankfully, in Richard Donner's version, they cut these scenes, but yeah, adding these weird powers in just, you know, really annoyed me. Like, I think an example of an edit, guys, which was, you know, a pretty ridiculous edit, was probably adding in humour. For example, the Battle of Metropolis, the scene where Zod and Sonon blow people away and all the objects and cars, they tried to make it funny by having people being blown away, but I did not laugh at them because I didn't find them funny. And you can also tell that many lines were dubbed in because many of the civilians' mouths were shut and they were screaming and whatever. Especially the KFC worker who gets blown away. You know, her mouth was very clearly shut and she said her lines. So yeah, that in my opinion wasn't a very good edit and definitely took away the entertainment of the movie in my opinion. And another example, guys, of something that I think is unnecessary is probably with regards to Ursa, because I really hated how Sarah Douglas was dubbed by another actress for most of this version of the movie. I really did not like that at all. She was dubbed by Annie Ross, who would go on to play Vera Webster in Superman 3 by Richard Lester, which I hate. And I'll be trash talking soon. But in my opinion, her being dubbed was a massive thing which was totally unnecessary. So unnecessary in my opinion, guys. Like, they didn't need to do that at all because, in my opinion, Sarah Douglas's natural voice is menacing and did not need to be replaced by a different actress at all. Thankfully, in Richard Donner cut, her normal voice, is prevalent and has not been replaced by Annie Ross, thankfully. So yeah, like, in my opinion, they should not have redubbed Sarah Douglas with a different actress. Like, because her natural speaking voice is way more menacing. And surprisingly, guys, Sarah Douglas held a neutral point of view when it comes to Richard Donner being fired. You know, she didn't really seem to care. I mean, fair enough, she has a right to that opinion, but, you know, still, I personally was totally against Richard Donner being fired, and I was on his side, and of course, rest in peace to him. And, like, you know, but yeah, like I said, guys, you know, this version of the movie is way weaker than Richard Donner's version of it, and yeah, definitely weaker than the first movie by far, absolutely. And yeah, so like I said, guys, the only thing that I like equally is Lex Luthor's scenes, and that's it. And I guess the cast still does good performance, even in the reshoots, even though many of them weren't comfortable. Like, I know Margot Kidder didn't really like doing the reshoots at the time, mainly because she was going through a marriage crisis at the time, and also because she didn't like how Richard Donner got fired. Which is why in Superman 3 she's only a cameo appearance, which is understandable, but yeah. Like, if I was in charge of making this movie, guys, I'd make sure Richard Donner got control over it to make it, as the full director. Like, this had potential to be better than the first movie, only if he was the director, Richard Donner. But yeah, his version is my favourite DC movie of all time, though, guys, but yeah, now. So this version of the movie, in my opinion, is much weaker, to be honest. You know, way weaker than the first movie. And, you know, and if you're wondering why I'd give it out of 10, I would give this movie, guys, a 7.5 out of 10. So, yeah, thanks to the performances of the cast and also Lex Luthor's scenes being shot by Richard Donner and other things being shot by Richard Donner. Although some things were edited in production to be by Lester, sadly. The scenes which are by Richard Donner save the movie, in my opinion. And in my opinion, he should have been the full director and did not deserve to be fired at all. So, yeah. I mean, full support Richard Donner, guys. And, of course, rest in peace to him because he passed away in 2021. So, yeah, rest in peace to him. But, yeah. And I'll be talking way more positively about Richard Donner cut in the review for that coming soon, guys. But, yeah. Unfortunately, soon I'll be trash talking the third movie in this franchise, which was done entirely by Richard Lester, and that's an example of, you know, when movies go horribly wrong. So yeah. But I'll give this movie, guys, a 7.5 out of 10. So yeah. I'd rank it after Richard Donner Superman 2, Man of Steel, Superman 1978, and Superman Returns. So yeah. That's how I'd rank it, guys. So yeah. In terms of standalone live-action Superman movies. So, guys, this was me reviewing the theatrical version of Superman 2 by Richard Lester. So, you know, drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to comments what you guys thought of the theatrical version of Superman 2. Let's see your thoughts are on it. Also, be sure to join Team Pound My Best and subscribe for movies coming in the future. If you'd like to be a member, you can press on a piece of laptop. You can link in the description. And up, and away.